So you got some tracks, do ya? Well, the next step is we want to look at different effects we can put on those tracks and then how we can turn this thing in. So I'm on my track view here. If you're somewhere in your instruments still, you can find the tracks view by going up to the top left and going to the rectangular icon. Three rows of rectangles stacked up on top of each other. This is our track view. So each of these tracks can be manipulated individually. I just deleted one extra by tapping and deleting it. If that comes in handy for you to clean up your tracks right now, do that. Then I'm going to go up into the track settings here, which is an icon. Well, it just turned blue, if that helps, up in the top left corner there. The three kind of looks like dials, slider dials. And you can select each of your tracks, and your sliders might look the same at first because I've messed around with mine a little bit here, but you can create settings for each track. So the one thing you might want to do, if nothing else, is decide what volume you'd like to hear each of your instruments at. That's called mixing your song together. So that would just require you to hit play at the top and go through each one and mess around until you have a proper mix that you like. If you want to isolate a track, you can hit the headphone icons here and apply some different types of effects and really hear the result in that track by itself. When you want to bring that track back into the mix, you hit the headphone again and it brings it back into the mix. Some things to try and experiment with would be the compressor, maybe, treble and bass. You can add some interesting effects down at the bottom too by adding some reverb and echo, it's called, to your instruments. So let's hear how some of those sound as I mess around with them on my drum beats, and then I'll isolate maybe my guitar track next. You have a mix you like, you might consider some of these effects, which is the icon right next to those track sliders there. And you can have a whole lot of fun with the options here, and it opens up kind of this touch interactive effects panel at the bottom here. And a quick tour of what you have here. We have kind of two touch panels on either side, and you can interact with both of them simultaneously. You'll notice here I'm doing that now, or you can interact with any number of these effects at the same time simultaneously, depending on how dexterous you are with your fingers. So that's something to note right away. Each of these touch panels on the right and bottom left are actually options of other effects that you can choose. So you can experiment with, right now I'm on filter, I could experiment with wobble, orbit, repeater, reverb, delay, and all sorts of interesting things here. So that just requires you to mess around a little bit, but I'm just going to demo quick a few of these options and how they work, of kind of moving my finger around these spaces here, and then show how I can record those effects in as well. If you really like any of these effects, I think it's easy to overdo it first of all with those, so be subtle if you're going to use them. But if you do want to use them, you can record them in. How that works is you just hit record, big red button at the top, and you're kind of a live performer at that point, and it's recording your actions. And those get recorded in as a separate track here. You can see at the bottom, so your actions do get recorded, so it gets replicated again on its next playthrough. And you can keep layering effects on top of each other, so you can continue it cycling through and continuing to add different things. But for me, I'll probably just delete that out because I didn't give it a lot of time and effort, and it's not sounding my best. But anyways, how to get this saved now is the last piece. So up at the top left is the page icon. That brings me back to my project space here. Then I just need to hit select at the top right and select the song that I'd like to send out with the blue check mark. Then I would click share and song. I'm going to keep these settings as they are, but I'm using high quality. And the rest of this info at the bottom you can see is optional. But if you'd like to give yourself credit for the song and a cover image, that will all be related to the actual file that gets created. So if I were to download that, for instance, onto my computer, I would see your file icon and it would have your data within it. But anyways, I'm just going to click share here. And where we want to save this for us anyways is a few options down. It says save to files. That's the Files app on our iPad, which you've maybe never used before, but comes in handy in this case. It just says, okay, where do you want to save this thing? It'll be saved on my iPad, and you might have some subfolders set up here. Otherwise, it might just say on my iPad like this, and you can click save, and that'll save to your files. And then Schoology is one last trick to get it out onto Schoology here. We would need to navigate to the course here. Digital music, GarageBand summatives, 4-chord song. Submit your file here. So we go to the discussion. We check our rubric first of all. Did you use the chord progression C, G, A minor, and F? If so, great. Do you have at least 4 instruments recorded? If so, great. Hopefully you didn't mess around with the length of the song or the tempo of the song. I'd like to keep those the same. I'll explain why at a later date. Ooh, we have some lovely submissions already. So then we would hit plus, attach, and in this case we want to do select from iOS apps. That allows us to get to our files. And that seems to kind of get us right to where we want to go. And it should be the file should be the name of the project you had in GarageBand. Mine was called 4-chord. It attaches one document, and Schoology forces me to type something in the comment box here. Send it my way. Can't wait to hear it. Good luck.